Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and the final Quantumania trailer just dropped, giving us even more to speculate on and worry about. Like, dear God, Paul Rudd is getting his ass kicked by Kang. As a father, there's no one more important to Scott Lang than his daughter Cassie, and after missing out on most of her childhood, Ant-Man is determined to recoup the time he's lost. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. More on them later. From the trailers to the promotional material showing off Cassie suiting up, it's clear that she's gonna play a big role in this film. So today, I'm gonna hit you with everything you need to know about Cassie Lang going into Ant-Man 3, from an MCU history refresher to her comic history trajectory. So Scott, if you're watching this, you totally don't have to make a devil's bargain with Kang. I'll catch you up on what she's been up to. Let's start with her MCU iteration. One of the biggest questions I had after watching this trailer was, how old is Cassie supposed to be again? I am already bad enough at math without the blip. In the first Ant-Man, we saw Cassie celebrating her 8th birthday in July of 2015. With Wakanda Forever set in the year 2025, we'll be in the year 2026 for Quantumania, making Cassie almost 19 years old. Director Peyton Reed confirmed that Cassie is 18 in this movie, saying, quote, "It occurred to us, well, Cassie's going to be 18 in this movie. That's great." I love the idea of Scott still relating to Cassie as a kid, but she's not. She's a young adult now. She has her own ideas of what it means to do good in the world, and she's trying to find her voice as a hero. She can also be a little critical of her father. Something tells me that Scott's gonna be a little critical of some of his daughter's choices too. In the trailer, we see Cassie being let out of a jail cell, likely because she decided to follow in her dad's footsteps. If you recall from the first Ant-Man, Scott was initially arrested for burgling millions of corrupt dollars and redistributing the wealth. My guess is that Cassie's found her own form of vigilante justice and is getting arrested for technically doing the right thing, but doing it super illegally. Sorry, Daddy-O, but you pulled a Robin Hood and now your sweet baby girl wants to go full Little John. Cassie's arrest may even be the catalyst for Scott's determination to make up for lost time. I can imagine that he probably feels like, damn, if I was around to raise her, maybe she wouldn't be in the slammer right now. I'm sure he feels responsible for the choices Cassie's now making as a young adult, despite the truth. Even if he was around for Cassie's teenage years, her dad's job is just too cool, and she probably would have insisted on going into the family business regardless. A recurring tragedy of Cassie's relationship with her father, both in the MCU and in the comics, is that while they have a close, unbreakable bond, they're also doomed to only have short windows of time to spend with one another. In the MCU, Scott does 3 years of hard time for stealing from VistaCorp. After a year outside the clink, gets sentenced to 2 years of house arrest. Pretty much immediately after he's a free man once more, he gets trapped in the quantum realm for 5 years. Add this together with his spotty shared custody, and it seems like Scott has only been an active part of his daughter's life for roughly 8 out of her 18 years. It's speculation, but I can also imagine that the press tours and podcasting that Scott's been doing post-Endgame have also cut into quality time with his daughter. In the comics, this twist of fate is pretty much the same. Early in Cassie's life, Scott is convicted of a burglary, missing out on some of her formative years. Shortly after getting out of prison, he discovers that she has a heart defect. This puts him on the path to become the second Ant-Man as a means to cure her. But it's not without its stints fighting villains in exotic, faraway locations. When Cassie's in her early teens, Scott dies in an explosion at Avengers Mansion thanks to a grief-stricken Scarlet Witch's unstable reality warping. In the aftermath, we learn that Cassie's been stealing her dad's Pym particles for years, hoping to develop powers. And she does. In fact, Cassie's Pym-irradiated heart allows her to shrink and grow at will, without the need of Pym tech. To honor Scott's memory, teenage Cassie becomes the superhero Stature, a founding member of the Young Avengers. Look, my dudes, we're gonna get back to the video in 1 second, but I gotta tell you about Squarespace. Not only are they making it possible for me to do this video, but they could be making it possible for you to do, like, honestly, whatever you want to do online. That's because Squarespace makes it easy to make an awesome website that lets you engage with your audience and sell anything you need. Your products, content you create, and even your time. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. If you're into making videos, Squarespace can help you create pro-level videos effortlessly. The Squarespace Video Studio app will help you make and share engaging videos to tell your story, grow your audience, and drive sales. But hey, maybe videos aren't your thing because you're more of a social media buff. No problem! You can display posts from any profile you want on your website and automatically push website content to your favorite social media channels so your followers can share it too. No matter what you're doing, Squarespace's analytic tools will help you learn where your traffic and sales are coming from so that you can improve your website and build a marketing strategy based either on your top keywords or most popular products and content. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. During the events of 2010's The Children's Crusade, the Young Avengers are transported back in time to the day that Scott was killed. Cassie manages to displace Scott into the future moments before the explosion, saving him, but making it appear as if he had perished for all those years. Unfortunately, Cassie herself dies at the hands of Dr. Doom in the same arc. Scott would then spend years carrying the pain of surviving at the cost of his daughter's life with him. In 2014, Dr. Doom turned good for a spell and used a reality warping wish to undo his murder and resurrect Cassie. After spending a publishing decade torn apart, Scott and Cassie were finally alive together at the same time. But even though Cassie was resurrected, that didn't mean she got to spend much time with her dad. As a means of protecting Cassie, both Scott and her mother Peggy agreed to keep her away from superheroes. But like her MCU counterpart, Comic Cassie has a knack for finding trouble and a desire to follow in her father's giant/tiny footsteps. Post-resurrection, Cassie struggles with no longer being a Young Avenger, while her friends like Kate Bishop are off fighting on the West Coast Avengers. Cassie gets into fights at her new school, which land her in trouble. Behind her mother's back, she starts hanging out with dear old Dad, who uses PIM particles casually for things like turning cell phones and toy boxes into movie theaters. Deciding to go rogue, Cassie joins a TaskRabbit service for supervillains to get her powers back, and takes out the old Power Broker's operation from the inside. In the aftermath, her parents agree to let her follow her passion to fight crime, as long as it's supervised by Scott. Nowadays, Cassie operates in a duo with Ant-Man under the alias Stinger, and I believe that we're likely to see a similar dynamic on screen for Quantumania. For starters, on a surface level, I think MCU Cassie is probably going to be picking up the codename Stinger, as it's her current comic book identity, and her movie color scheme is more in line with her Stinger costume than her Stature one. But in a broader sense, this father-daughter team has the push and pull of a mentor trying to teach his protege how to not make the same mistakes he's made, and a young upstart desperate to prove that she has what it takes to get into the big leagues. I wouldn't be surprised if this is how we see MCU Cassie interact with Scott in the quantum realm, as he desperately tries to protect her from Kang while she rushes headfirst into danger. Possibly not only to prove that she can keep up with him, but also to fix her mistake of sucking the Ant family into the quantum realm. It also wouldn't be a shocker to find out that all her early movie quantum research happens behind her mother's back, with Peg expressly forbidding Cassie from playing with PIM particles. While it'll definitely be fun to see Scott try to wrangle a daughter who knows how to playfully push his dorky buttons, it clearly isn't gonna be all fun and games. Like I've said, Cassie and Scott have a habit of only being in each other's lives for brief windows of time. So whether Kang actually does squash Scott like a bug, or that's all a trailer misdirect, I do think that this father-daughter duo will be broken up once again by the end of the film. With the MCU building up a roster of potential Young Avengers, including Cassie, I think that the makings of a Children's Crusade adaptation are in the cards for us. This means that Cassie will likely be motivated to save her father from his lose-lose battle against Kang. If Scott is killed or even displaced in the quantum realm, this could be the catalyst that causes Cassie to put the Young Avengers together in future MCU projects. Like her arc as Stature in the comics, Cassie will be driven to save Scott, and while I think she'll ultimately succeed, I really hope it doesn't cost her what it does in the comics. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Whitney Puppy, follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love, and thanks for watching. Bye!